Hi guys, so today we're going to do a little cook along. We're going to do some overnight oats. Okay, so hopefully we've got all of our equipment and ingredients ready. I will run through it very quickly before we make a start. Okay, so what we need today is we've got a bowl with a spoon. Okay, that's the most important thing. And really, the only other thing we really need is a saucer or a small plate. That's it, really. And we're not going to be chopping anything up. It's quite an easy recipe to do, and it serves two people. So if you haven't had overnight oats before, it's basically like a cold porridge that you can cook or you make the night before. In the morning, you pretty much add a few bits and pieces, and it's done. Okay, very nice and very healthy. Some of the ingredients we need. So I've got a few changes to that recipe that we've got online. So we obviously need some oats. I've got a big box of oats here. We need some yogurt. Any yogurt will do. You can have cow's yogurt. I've got soy yogurt. Okay. We need a little bit of milk, not too much. Okay. Again, any milk. If you're lactose intolerant, you might use an alternative milk. We can use seeds. So I've got pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds here. If you had nuts, you could use them. It's up to you. You could use a bit of jam, but I'm using a bit of honey instead. Okay. And the last thing is a bit of water. And we obviously need our fruit. So I'm going to be using strawberries today. The ideal fruit to use for this is anything soft that you can really crush up with your hands, because these cook-alongs are targeted towards 5 and unders. So anything that's going to not allow us to sort of cut ourselves, use knives, anything like that would be really, really good. So, a couple of little safety points beforehand. If you've got long hair, just tie it back for us. If you've got an apron, you might want to do it up now. Take any jewellery off. Shoes, if you've got shoes, if you're moving around, maybe tie them up. And also roll your sleeves up. Okay, because the oats can get a little bit powdery. We don't want to have all of our clothes with lots of powder on. Okay, so this recipe, if you've not done it before, it's really, really easy. As I said, this is for sort of children 5 and below. So this is something that's minimal equipment, and also any fruit that you've got that's maybe going a bit soft, like bananas, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, anything like that, even sort of mandarins, oranges, you can throw them in. Okay, you can obviously build up some of the other stuff with some seeds, some nuts, maybe some raisins, anything that you've got, you can sort of throw it in there. And also, there's no cooking. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a start. Okay, I'm going to bring my screen down in a minute. Okay, and you can follow, but just make sure you've got everything in arm's reach so you can grab it as we're making the recipe as we go along. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get our bowl and our spoon. Okay, the ingredient we need is our oats. Now, as I said, this is going to be serving 2 people. Okay, so ideally, if we're using a tablespoon, which is a big spoon, we're going to do about 2.5 to 3 of these per person. That's about 30 grams of oats. That's about an average portion. Okay, I'm going to be making it for 2, so I'm going to be doing about 5 to 6 tablespoons. Okay, and then in the morning, what you would do, you would separate it into 2 bowls, maybe give it to your brother, your sister, your mum, your dad, whoever's at home, and obviously something that you've made them. So I want to bring my screen down, and then we're going to make a start with the recipe. So I want to undo my box of my oats. I've got my bowl, so I'm going to do 5 big spoonfuls of these. Okay, 1. Don't have to make sure we get it spilt over. I've got a dog just next to me, so if I do spill stuff, I'm sure the dog will hoover it up anyway. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, doesn't look like a lot, but that's going to feed 2 people. Okay, so that's sort of 2 portion sizes. We can put our oats away now. We don't need them no more. The next thing we're going to do is use some water. Okay, now we've got it in a water filter. You could just go to the tap, you could pour it in, you could pour it in a glass beforehand. It's up to you how you wanted to put it in there. But what we're looking to do is pour the water in, not to the top of the bowl. We're going to pour it in just so all of the oats are covered. We're not going to pour lots and lots in, because what the oats do overnight is they absorb, they soak in all of that water. Okay, so once we've got our oats, we're going to slowly pour the water in. So we're going to do it a little bit at a time. There's still some dried oats in there. So what we're going to do, we're going to pour a little bit more in. You could use milk for this step if you wanted to, but we're going to use water just because it's probably a bit better in terms of if we put lots and lots of milk in there, we might not need that much milk. It might even use quite a lot. And water sort of gives us a bit of a blank canvas to work from, so we can add lots more flavour in there after. So I've now put water in there just so it covers the oats. So there's not that much gap between the oats and the water. What we're going to do is we are then going to put our plate or saucer over it. Now that's going to go in the fridge overnight. Okay. Now when it's in there overnight, all of those oats are going to absorb all of that water, and then in the morning, like a good cookery program, we take the saucer off and we've got our oats. Now if you can see, a lot of that water has been absorbed. Okay, so you're going to do this in the morning. Imagine now it's the morning after. Okay, so I've probably had a little bit too much water in that one, but that's fine. Lots of the oats will be softer because a lot of that water would have been sitting in that water overnight. Okay. So now what we can do is start to build our breakfast. So I probably don't need to put that much milk in because that's still quite wet. You'd only really use milk if it was really, really dry, and that's just to loosen everything up. So I probably don't really need to use too much milk there. So I'm going to add literally a drop. If it was obviously drier, then you would add more milk. So I can mix that in. Okay. Keep mixing. What I'm going to add next, if you've got a bit of jam or honey, I'm going to add this. Okay. So I'm going to take my spoon, and rather than putting my dirty spoon in the honey, I'm going to try and get it out like this. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit longer, but I don't want to mix everything in with the honey. So I'm only going to use about half a tablespoon, which is about a teaspoon. I've got my honey. So remember, what we're doing now is going to be the morning after, okay? So you're going to be doing this tomorrow, all right? We can mix that in. That's obviously for a bit of sweetness. Now, we can add some yogurt. Just for the time being, I'm trying to get that off, just so we can speed it up a little bit. Now, as I said, it's a little bit wet still. I'm only going to add about 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon of yogurt in there. 1 and a bit. 2. Let's say 2. And then I'm going to add some seeds. So on the recipe, we said about 30 grams. I've obviously got them in big containers. You can just have a sprinkle. If you wanted to add more, you can add more. Okay, I'm going to put a little sprinkle of These ones, these are sunflower seeds. Okay, so they're the grey ones. They come from a sunflower. Okay, and I'm going to add some other ones, which are big green ones, and these are pumpkin seeds. Okay, so I'm going to do another sprinkle in there. So the only thing really to add to it is our fruit. So I've got strawberries. Some people got blueberries today, but what we're going to do, we're going to add any soft fruit. And the reason why we're using soft fruit is because if we're young, we don't really want to be using knives in the kitchen. So a good little tip is what we can do is we can use our spoon and we can give that a lick. And we can either break it up with our hands, so we get our fingers and we can feel the texture of the strawberry. Okay, we can break it up with our fingers. Really, really, look at all that colour now. So we can do that. Or you could break it up with your spoon. Holding a spoon, thumb on this bit, and you can just break it up. If obviously you're really confident with using a knife, you could use a knife and chop it up into small bits. But breaking it up like this gets all the juice out as well. So I'm using 2 strawberries. If you use a handful, so if you're small, you've got a smaller hands. Obviously a handful is 1 portion. So my strawberries were quite big, so that's probably about a portion for me. And then they're going to go in on top. What you would do now, if you wanted to add anything, like maybe a bit of dollop of yogurt or anything like that, it's done. And that is overnight oats. That was easy, wasn't it? Thanks for joining, guys. That was a I think that's probably the quickest cook along we've done. Really, really easy. Okay, use any fruit that you've got indoors. If you need to parents to chop stuff up, you can add some of that. You can add even grated apple or grated pear, anything that you really want to use, you can chuck it in. Just try and make sure it's a little bit dry in the morning, so don't put too much water in, add less, and you can always add more in the morning. Okay, if you wanted to share with us your pictures, we're on Twitter or on Instagram. Also, we've got lots more recipes on the website, so you can also try out some of the other things we've got on there. All right? So thanks for tuning in. Speak to you soon, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.